When I was asked to speak about the Caribbean, it was under the topic of why Caribbean now versus other high-growth areas such as Latin America and Africa. Latin America is a great growth area with loads of investment opportunities, but I believe a lot of that growth is in the mineral-rich regions, which can yield large returns, but still has much more political risk than the Caribbean. These regions also attract a different type of investor who is primarily investing in commodities with a secondary view on infrastructure. As far as Africa is concerned, for me, it is still too early stage with unstable governments that cause the potential for tremendous risk. Look at last Friday's New York Times article citing the collapse of a well-known fund led by former United States Ambassador to the UN, Andrew Young. Stories like this make me uneasy. With so many investment opportunities in the world, why go to areas where you know the risk is high? So let's talk about the Caribbean. Why now? If I spoke last year, I probably could have given the same speech. The upside opportunity hasn't changed at all, but with the rebound in the world economy, the potential risks have diminished. Investments made now should pay off handsomely in the future due to the limited land that will be bid for to build beautiful resorts. The question is, what comes first? Build the infrastructure to accommodate the influx of people to resorts and businesses, or build the resorts that will require the infrastructure to be built? With a population of just over 40 million, the governments of the various Caribbean islands need to promote investment and tourism. The government that can lure the most investment will be the long-term winner, because these investments will spur the local economy. Investors worldwide are looking for sizable returns from the Caribbean. In 2011, China announced it would lend $6.3 billion to Caribbean governments. The World Bank has committed to funding projects that will produce jobs and benefit local economies. Then there is the private sector that is always looking for good investments. Why now? Demographics. People like to go to nice warm places to be on the beach, play golf, dine in fine restaurants, or enjoy water activities. The baby boomers are retiring, and many will buy homes in the Caribbean. These people are accustomed to the modern conveniences of society. So to entice them to come, all the technology needs to be in place. The marina has to be built. The service industry has to be trained. The medical facilities need to be upgraded, and all the comforts of home need to be transported. This requires significant investment. There is tremendous wealth in the world. As China, India, and Russia have grown their economies, new millionaires and billionaires have been created. The penthouse at a brand new building being built right here in New York City has sold for $95 million. Starting price in that building is $20 million. These are the people you want as your villa owners. You need a 5-star resort to cater to this group of people. This will need a great deal of investment. To continue with the opportunity in the Caribbean, businesses and resorts need to cater to more cultures, specifically China. In 2011, the Chinese made 70 million overseas trips. For that same year, the United States made 58.5 million overseas trips. This is a tremendous change from years ago. In order to cater to the Chinese customer, resorts and businesses must change their way of doing business. They must adapt to Chinese customs and foods to make the Chinese traveler comfortable. Also, local islands need to change the behavior of the person who visits the island via cruise ship. For the middle-tiered priced resort, the consumer needs to have a reason not to take a cruise to these various islands and instead spend a few days to a week in one spot. This takes an intense marketing campaign, which again needs capital and people. What new marketing programs can be developed to tailor to the different societies around the world? What will differentiate one island from another? I go to the travel show at the Javits Center every year, where it seems like every country in the world is advertising. What will differentiate the Caribbean islands from all the other tourist destinations? Why now? Governments are realizing they need to do something to spur the economy. They need to lure investment into their region to create jobs. They are giving major tax, tariff, and business incentives to resort builders and businesses. Internal groups have been organized to explore how to lure more travelers and businesses to the islands. The red carpet is out for the dignitaries from countries around the world. Look at how many financial institutions have been set up in the last 10 years. It's a beginning, but more needs to be done. Education must be stressed to allow for an educated workforce so that when businesses do set up, they will have enough people to fill the required high-level jobs. This also includes trade schools because as the infrastructure grows, there will be a tremendous need for these jobs. The building boom of the 2005-2008 era needs to be completed. How many buildings were started that were never completed? Many of the owners have run out of money. The local governments need to do whatever it can to get these projects to completion. This will provide a great opportunity to private investors as they bid these projects and complete them. Money begets money. With all the opportunities in the Caribbean, money really hasn't flowed in for a number of reasons. That is why now is the time to invest. Whoever invests now will be on the ground level of a growth and building boom that will spur more growth for years to come. When is the best time to invest? When valuations are cheap. However, we all know from past cycles that most investment occurs at the end of the cycle. That is why I'm proposing that if investment is made today, there are two future events to make money. The first is at the time when industries enter the extended growth cycle. This will attract more Fortune 500 companies to take notice and form joint ventures. And the second will come when there are exit events, as large funds or companies want to buy an established business or resort. In 1983, I was a partner in the First Sector Technology Fund. We raised over $120 million. At that time, $120 million was a lot of money. In the second half of that year, our performance was greatly enhanced because Merrill Lynch raised a $750 million technology fund, and that money had to be put to work. More recently, we have seen similar events in the real estate market in 2007-2008 and the gold market last year. I believe a similar event will occur in the Caribbean. As projects and businesses are successful, it will make investors take notice. Coordinated with a targeted public relations program, there will be greater interest directed toward the Caribbean. At that time, a greater amount of assets will be allocated for Caribbean investment. The stigma of Lehman Brothers has dissipated. It took 5 years, but I now believe that investors want to invest again. In the past few years, the Caribbean had to compete with the real estate market in the United States. If you could buy at 10 cents on the dollar, why invest in the Caribbean? I think that has changed. Mutual funds, private equity funds, and individuals are gaining confidence on investing. Morgan Stanley announced last week that they will be raising between $1 and $3 billion for a real estate fund. I am sure more new funds will follow. Inevitably, a lot of that money is going to come to the Caribbean, with limited land and quality projects that can only raise values. At Wedgewood Investment Group, we see many projects every week. For the intelligent CEO or project manager, the opportunity is great at this time. Unfortunately, as many as you know, many individuals running these projects or people who have access to land are what we call delusionally optimistic. They think their project is worth much more than the market believes, or there are many middle people who are trying to match projects to funding that want to get rich quick. These are the people that you need to watch out for, and the government needs to put a stop to them right away. A logical, well-thought-out business plan is what will get investors' attention. Another observation I have is that there are many quality projects across all industries that need startup money. There are a lot of good ideas, but given the events of the last 5 years, the operators are tapped out of money. Banks will lend to a certain extent, what is really needed is for the government to fund these entrepreneurs. Premier Ewing and I were speaking about this last night, how the government of Turks and Caicos will be investing in some of these businesses. Is there risk to the government? Absolutely. But investments can be structured so that the government is a passive participant in the success of the business, thus reaping tremendous rewards. In conclusion, the Caribbean is ripe for significant investment to spur the region for sustained economic and human growth. With more jobs created due to a successful economy, everybody benefits. The people, as their lives are enriched, and the politicians that have done their job to make their island a factor in the world economy. Thank you very much.